If you grew up hearing any of these phrases, this video is for you. Not because we want to blame your parents, but because nobody ever told you what those words actually did to your brain. A review of 166 studies found that regular verbal abuse from parents, including shouting, belittling, and name-calling, has negative consequences that can last a lifetime. In some cases, the damage was worse than physical abuse. These are the phrases, and this is what science says happened when you heard them. You're stupid. You'll never amount to anything. You're such a loser. A Harvard Medical School study used brain scans, real MRI machines, and found that children who were regularly spoken to with verbal aggression showed measurable changes in brain structure, specifically in the part of the brain that processes spoken language. So when a parent said this to a child again and again, the child's brain was physically being shaped around those words. They didn't just hear it, they were built by it. Stop crying. Man up. You're so sensitive. I'll give you something to cry about. When a child cries, they are not misbehaving, they are communicating. That's the only tool they have. Research by psychologist Alan Strofe found that children whose parents responded to their crying with warmth grew up to be more socially adjusted, more emotionally stable, and less clingy as adults, compared to children whose parents told them to stop. What stop crying actually teaches: your feelings are a problem. Don't show them to the people you love. Handle them alone. That lesson doesn't stay in childhood. Why can't you be more like your brother? Your sister never does this. Other kids are better than you. A 2023 study published in BMC Psychology followed 587 teenagers over time. It found that children raised with conditional approval, love that felt tied to performance or comparison, were nearly 4 times more likely to develop low and unstable self-esteem. And that self-esteem profile had a 98% stability rate, meaning once a child's confidence was damaged this way, it almost never recovered on its own. Comparison doesn't push a child to do better. It teaches them that they are, at their core, not enough. I wish you were never born. I regret having you. I wish you were different. There is no gentle way to explain what these words do to a child, so let's be direct. Research on family toxicity identifies these phrases as psychological abuse, specifically targeting a child's sense that they have a right to exist. Children who hear this don't just feel sad, they start asking a question that follows them into adulthood. Am I allowed to take up space in this world? That question rewires how a person moves through every room they ever enter. You cost too much. You exhaust me. Having you is so hard. A child's brain is not wired to process this logically. It cannot think, my parent is stressed and speaking from exhaustion. It hears, I am a burden. I should need less. I should want less. I should be less. Research on parentification, where children take on emotional weight that belongs to adults, shows that these children grow up struggling to ask for help, hiding their needs, and feeling guilty for existing in the space they take up. They spend their whole adult life trying to be easy for everyone. I'll leave you. I'll just disappear. You'll wake up and I won't be here. Threatening to leave is not discipline. It is using a child's deepest biological fear against them. Children are wired to attach. They cannot survive without a caregiver, so their brain treats the threat of abandonment as a threat to their life, not just their feelings. Research on attachment theory shows that children who experience repeated abandonment threats develop anxious or disorganized attachment, where love feels permanently unstable. They carry that instability into every relationship they form for the rest of their lives. You should be ashamed of yourself. You're so embarrassing. What's wrong with you? Shame and guilt are not the same thing. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. Research by Brené Brown, and backed by decades of developmental psychology, shows that shame is strongly linked to depression, anxiety, addiction, and self-harm in adolescence. It does not motivate change. It teaches a child to hide. When a parent weaponizes shame, the child doesn't learn a lesson. They learn to make themselves invisible. I'll buy you that next time. We'll go there soon, I promise. But then, nothing. Broken promises feel small to an adult. To a child, they are how they learn what the world is. When a parent makes and breaks promises repeatedly, the child learns that the people who say they love you cannot be trusted. That lesson doesn't get filed under "my parent was unreliable," it gets filed under "people are unreliable," and it stays there. Studies on trust development in childhood show that early broken trust from caregivers is one of the strongest predictors of difficulty forming close relationships in adult life. What's my take on this? Most parents who said these things were not monsters, they were people who were never taught how to speak to a child, because nobody spoke well to them either. But here is what I think matters most. The fact that it was unintentional doesn't make the damage any less real. A broken bone doesn't heal differently depending on whether someone meant to break it. The real question isn't, were your parents bad people? The real question is, what did you start believing about yourself, and is any of it actually true? Words don't leave bruises you can see, but a review of 166 studies confirmed they leave something else: changes in the brain, in self-worth, in the ability to trust that can last a lifetime. If you heard these words growing up, there is something important I want you to know. You were not the problem. You were a child, and children believe what their parents tell them. But you are not a child anymore, and none of those words were ever the truth about you. Which one of these hit closest to home? Tell me in the comments.